We recently did the install of the bed rug on our 2019 3/4 ton Ford. We mentioned that we were going to put a tonneau cover on it. So this is our tonneau cover. This is the Access original from Access, or a company named AgriCover. So we're going to put this on. Wanted to show you the installation of it to complete our bed here for hauling our gear, and again kind of cleaning it up a little bit, but giving us a enclosed storage compartment. It's a pretty simple system. We've run this cover before in combination with the bed rugs. It consists of a couple rails on each side that just clamp on, and the pressure holds the rail in place. The tonneau cover itself sits up front, and it is a vinyl cover that rolls back, locks into place. It is actually lockable, so with a locking tailgate you can close things up. But we'll get it unboxed, get the parts in their respective places, and get ready for the install. Okay, let's get it unboxed. As stated, these are the rails, and you can recognize the latching system that goes towards the back. Little gasket, and the clamps. We'll show you a closer view of those. And then the cover itself. Like I said, pretty simple system, but a nice cover. Get all the hardware laid out. Double check the count. We'll make sure that we've got everything that we need. All right, I'll get these separated, laid out, and get a picture so you can get a close-up on what the kit consists of. The first step, installing the side rails. You want to make sure that you push the front of the rail up against the bulkhead, and you're going to want to keep this outer layer level with the top of the bed cap. And then you can put your clamps on. One thing that does help, if you've got a set of vice grips, small clamps or something, to help just kind of hold one end into place if you don't have a second person to help you. It's a real simple clamping system. It's almost like a clamshell. You just want to make sure that that top edge stays level with that bed cap. The manufacturer will tell you to use a torque wrench if you have one set at 20 foot-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench that goes down that low, so with all of these that I've installed in the past, I just snug them up, not getting too carried away, but making sure that they are good and tight. Make sure to put this first clamp as close to the bulkhead as allowable. Simple as that. Both side rails installed. The next step, we're going to need to clean this bulkhead for the weather strip that I showed you earlier. So they do provide an alcohol wipe, and you want to make sure that that surface is warm enough for an adhesion of tape. 60, 65 degrees is usually warm enough. If you're doing it in a garage or something and it's cooler out, a heat gun or a blow dryer does work well to heat that metal up. Save this because we'll need it again for the next step. This weather strip is shaped, and you can see where the two-sided tape is right there, and it is going to fit on the inside edge of the box to seal this gap right here. Here's how this will mount to seal this gap. And what works best, having that cleaned off, just pull a little bit of that tape off, set that where you want it, and then if you lay it down, you can just pull that tape as you go. And as you saw there, if I don't really like how it sticks or if it moves on you, you can just pop it back up and adjust if needed. When you get to the opposite side, there will be a little bit extra, so you just want to cut that off, you'll be good to go. For the rear seal, we have to use our marker and scissors to mark where we need to notch this out, and it'll make sense once I put it on. But what I need to do is cut this out. This adhesive backed portion will adhere in here and here, but as you can see, I can't get all the way to close this gap. That's where, by notching this out, it will fit into here, giving us a good seal. Here is the piece notched out. You'll want to use your alcohol pad from the front. Probably a smart idea to just go ahead and wipe that and then these, because in a matter of barely 10 minutes, this is already dry, so it's rendered useless to me. So what I'll do is get a good cleaner, and I'm just going to clean this real good before sticking that. In the hardware, there were two bolts that you saw in one of the earlier pictures, a larger and a shorter bolt. The large bolt is used for this small piece to mount onto here. The small bolt goes in this wedge-shaped piece. But first, now these are marked left and right. Left for driver, right for passenger. Just hand tighten those in there for the time being. But what this is actually the tensioner. So this is how you tighten or loosen the tension of that cover when it's installed. And you just want those hand tightened for now. They do tell you to have a socket wrench with a 1/2 inch socket on it. I use just a box end or a ratchet wrench. So either will work for these as well as those. So now we need to take this up front, get it set into place, lock it down, roll it out, and set the tension on it. So I've set the cover itself with the front rail in place, and I'll show you how the assembly bolts together. So with that in place, those pieces that I was showing you with the hardware, they're in here, and we'll show you how those bolt together. That's what I had bolted together earlier with the long bolts. I'll show you how the small bolts mount the tensioners to the side rail. This is that previously installed tensioner. As you can see, it's still loose, so it will slide inside this front rail. And I just need to get it to go under this side rail, and then I will line the tensioner up, put the bolt in from the top side, followed by the washer and then the nut. And I will just hand tighten those until I make sure everything is aligned, and then once everything is square aligned where it should be, then I'll come in, tighten these two nuts and bolts as well as the other side. Okay, that's all assembled. I do want to take you around the side and show you there is a flap on the front of this front rail that has to be tucked underneath, and it sits on top of that weather strip that we previously mounted. With the tensioners in place but still loose, now it's time to roll the cover back. As we do, you'll see there are these support bars. Those fall into place in between the side rails, and the back of the cover itself pops into these two latches. With that, you want to pull it down And that's about a good amount of tension right there. The tensioners have thumb wheels on them. So if it's too loose or too tight, you can adjust that a little bit. But to test fit it, I'll just pull this across, lock that into place, and make sure that it's even on both sides where it comes down and adheres. So it is now closed and latched. So there's a couple different ways. I mean, I can shut the gate that way, but if you open the cover, shut the gate, there's this extra vinyl here that if you lay it down and have it outward, then any moisture will be more apt to roll out to the side. I did already go up front and tighten down the tensioner bolts, the mounting bolts to the side rails, as well as the mounting bolts to the front cap. When the tailgate is closed, if your vehicle has a locking tailgate, this is secure, and your possessions in there will be out of sight, out of mind.